Hello, this is the tradesight U.S. Stocks and Futures Market Preview and International Economic Data Roadmap for the week beginning Sunday, November 2nd, 2014, and ending Friday, November 7th. Hope you had a good trading week. Strange end to the week in Forex as the Bank of Japan announced a quantitative easing program similar to the one that our Fed is just ending, and that had some major ramifications on the yen-based pairs and sent the dollar higher in comparison, even though stuff like the euro dollar and the pound dollar did not really do much on the last day of the week. So looking back now at this, you can see the last year or so here on the daily chart of the dollar index right here. We're hitting new highs. That news has broken us above that risk line from the Secret 13 sell signal, which had pulled us back for a bit. And now it looks doubtful that we're heading back to that red static trend line. So a whole new area of the market in place. Because of that, we're going to back this chart out. I'm going to go to a weekly. So you can see now the last 4 years or 5 years or so on the dollar index. You can see we're actually looking to break to new highs if we can get over that 89 area. So, good sign for a strong economy here in the U.S. You can see that 113 sell signal on the weekly chart had an impact back in 2 years ago. But overall, I mean, if this leads up a little higher and then goes sideways, you've got a cup and handle formation that could then break out on the U.S. dollar index. Here's the weekly chart. So now you're going back all the way back into the 1990s. Coming back to sort of a middle ground here on it. So let's take a look at the euro dollar daily chart. It did roll a little bit, tried to sweep the lows on that low range base breakdown. The pound. Now again, remember the dollar's not necessarily the one getting stronger by itself. It is the yen getting weaker against the dollar. So it'll be interesting to see what that affects. But if the yen stuff starts trading again, and that's the difference, the yen-based stuff has been really dead the last 2 years, ever since the nuclear accident. If that stuff starts trading, we can widen out sort of what we're looking at from a trading perspective at night a little bit better. So it's going to be interesting to see if that comes into play. Here's a look at the Aussie dollar, not much this week. New Zealand dollar, not much this week. But again, like the pound yen, look at the move on the pound yen. I mean, that's the biggest move we've had in a while there, over a year. From this news. And here's a look at the euro yen, again a big move up. So if these start to become active, that would really help the forex market, which has been lacking, I would say, in trading activity for a while. And we've certainly seen it pick up the last 2 months, but just on some of the major pairs, not on some of the yen-based stuff. All right, now let's roll to the 30-minute charts and take a look at what we got this week. Here's the euro dollar. Kind of a flat Monday, and Tuesday finally got a pop. Remember, we had a Fed announcement, so Wednesday you can see the Fed announcement middle of the week. That started us lower. Total range for the week with that Fed announcement and the move down Thursday and Friday is about 300 pips, almost 280 there. And that's good. I mean, for a week, that's not bad range. A couple of days were still light individually, but it's nice to see that total range. It's definitely better what we've been seeing. Pound was a little less interesting, about 220 pips of range, 240 maybe. Real flat Monday and Tuesday. It did move on the Fed, and then real flat Thursday and Friday. But let's look at something like the pound yen. Look at this move that they got. Again, not super exciting up until that announcement, and then just boom, and everything jumps 500 pips. Unbelievable. All right, so what do we have to look forward to in the week ahead? Well, let's take a look. First of all, we've got the daylight savings time shift here in the U.S. and in Canada. So for last week, Europe did it. So for a week, the times were off, right? What the people in Europe were used to was 1 hour off of what the U.S. was used to, and that affects the trading in a market that's so global. And now we're going to flip it right back and be back on the same page together. So keep that in mind. AIG Manufacturing Index out of Australia Sunday night. Bank holiday out of Japan. We got building approvals in Australia. China's non-manufacturing PMI data going into Monday. Commodity prices. Spanish manufacturing PMI. Italian manufacturing PMI, final manufacturing PMI out of Europe and the UK, and then the US PMI data, ISM number, construction spending, that's not a big one. None of those are huge here in the US. Total vehicle sales in the afternoon here in the US. We've got retail sales out of Australia, trade balance out of Australia, final manufacturing PMI out of Japan, Aussie cash rate announcement, Europe's Spanish unemployment change, and Halifax HPI in the UK. This is all on Tuesday. EU economic forecast, PPI out of Europe, trade balance out of Canada and the US. Those are two of our big three or one of our big three, I should say, here in the U.S. So that's Tuesday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So we'll be half size ahead of that going into Tuesday. Factory orders here in the U.S. Tip economic optimism number. And then we've got unemployment out of New Zealand that night and their labor cost index. Australia's AIG services index, Japan's monetary base, the pound BRC shop price index, Japan average cash earnings, HSBC services PMI data, Japan's 10-year bond auction. We've got the CPI out of Switzerland, Europe's Spanish services PMI, Italian services PMI, and the broad European one, and then the UK one. Retail sales out of Europe. U.S. we've got on Wednesday ADP non-farm employment change, services PMI, and then the crude oil inventories. Japan monetary minutes from their last meeting, the unemployment rate out of Australia, leading indicators out of Japan. Then we've got the manufacturing and industrial production numbers out of the UK, Spanish 10-year bond auction, and French 10-year bond auction. We've got a rate announcement out of the Bank of England Thursday morning here. Be aware of that. And then same with the Bank of Europe. So we've got two rate announcements there going into Thursday. We've got building permits out of Canada. Got the weekly unemployment claims data. We've got natty gas here in the U.S., AIG construction index in Australia Thursday night. We head into Friday. We've got unemployment in Switzerland, and then German trade balance and industrial production. Same stuff out of France. Retail sales out of Switzerland. Trade balance out of the UK. Europe's ECOFIN meetings. We've got the unemployment rate out of Canada and the U.S. on Friday. That's another one of our big three. So two of our big three numbers here in the U.S. this week. We'll be half size ahead of both, and that will wrap the week up. So there's a lot of stuff going on. We're into the last 2 months of the year. It's usually a decent trading time of year. Maybe with this news out of Japan, it'll continue to be that way, and we'll see some pickup in our action. And then, of course, we'll be looking at the bigger economic data to try to lower our size and not get stuck in these news sweeps. We'll be in the Trading Lab helping you out as usual. Charts brought to you by eSignal. Have a great week.